What's going on, man? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Ron, and today I'm in my new basement. I told you guys that I moved out of my old crib. Now I'm in the new one. I'm still working on everything. I'm going to try and get the jerseys back up. I know you guys love that Manziel jersey in the background. I'm going to get some audio panels. I know it's kind of echoey in here, but I think that might just be me nitpicking the basement. But this is going to be the new setup from here going forward. And it's going to start, it's going to get there. You know what I mean? I'm going to start getting improvements here and there. Right now I'm literally recording on my nightstand with my laptop on top of it. I'm going to get a desk for down here. And this is slowly going to turn into like a man cave type, like dope recording studio place. But for right now, we're working with what we got. And I'm going to bring you guys my starts and sits for week 4. So these are going to be my running back and wide receiver start sits. And then we're going to do a little living the stream action with my quarterbacks and tight ends that are under 50% owned in ESPN leagues. Now, make sure you get down below and subscribe. Right now, we're at 170 subscribers, man. I love, you guys have been showing me all the support, and I think in the last 28 days, I've gained 100 subscribers, so it's been a dope ride so far, man. And before I waste any more of your time or any more of my time, let's get into these start sits. Let's go.
I know I'm critical. My nitty bag, my kitty boots. I got the juice, I got the juice.
First up, we're going to go with my starts and studs for week 4 at the running back position. And first up, I have James Robinson at Cincinnati. And when I'm sitting back and I'm doing a little self-reflection, you know, sort of getting in my feelings a little bit, James Robinson's the guy I have in 0 leagues right now. After Leonard Fournette, you know I love Fat Leo. He gets booted. And I just wasn't interested in Raquel Armstead, Chris Thompson, and James Robinson. It just seemed like a 3-headed backfield on the Jaguars offense. And I just didn't really care at the time. I know now that any running back that's going to be a lead back in their offense is valuable in fantasy. You're seeing that with Myles Gaskin too, but James Robinson, he's a guy I missed on, but he's the RB5 in 0.5 points per game this year. And if you have him on your team, just give yourself a nice little pat on the back, my guy. You have a fringe RB1 going forward on this team. He's game script proof. Last week, they kind of got shitted on by the Dolphins on Thursday Night Football. And still, even on 45% of snaps, because you have Chris Thompson, the guy that I was shitting on all offseason because everyone was like, oh, Leonard Fournette, he's going to get pulled out because Chris Thompson's in there going to catch passes. It's only going to happen when they're down by a lot. And even then, he still had 27.9, 0.5 PPR points in a negative game script on 45% of snaps. So now he's a game script independence. You got to start him. He's somebody you just have to lock into your lineup every week. And Cincinnati, they're bottom 5 in fantasy points given up to the running back position. So it's just time to just put J-Rob in your lineup, set and forget it. Another guy you'll never see me cape up for is Devin Singletary, but he's playing in Las Vegas this week. And I can't believe that Josh Allen looks good. This is a high-powered offense. Josh Allen, he's a guy that I really wasn't fucking with when he came out. I thought he was inaccurate. And he still does have all those kinds of things, but he's slinging the ball, and it's great for fantasy. And with Zach Moss hurt, it gives Devin Singletary the primary back role in an offense that's going to score a lot of points. And I know that he's active this week, but I think this is another week that you can sneak in Devin Singletary into your lineups. Those are 3.5 point favorites, and it's one of the higher over-unders this week. I want to say it's like 54 points. And the Raiders are the easiest matchup against opposing running backs, allowing 35.8 points to opposing running backs. So that's what I'm saying. If Zach Moss is healthy, they could both eat, but I think that he's going to be limited because, you know, he had that injury. He was out last week. I think there's going to be another week that we start Devin Singletary. And now a guy that's next up on this list is Joe Mixon at home against Jacksonville. And Mixon, I wanted to put him on here because I think this is a fine matchup for him. And I know a lot of you guys are getting really antsy with Mixon. He's costing you weeks right now, but I'm telling you guys, just hold strong for at least one more week. He's 6th in opportunity share, 10th in weighted opportunity, and 5th in pass routes ran among RBs. So he's getting the volume, and we know he's good. It's just that offensive line is hurting him right now, but they're going to score points. Joe Burrow's been fucking hanging his dick on defense. I'm telling you, Joe Burrow, he's gonna carry this offense. This is an exciting offense in Cincinnati with AJ Green. They have AJ Green, Tyler Boyd. They have weapons on the outside, and it's going to give them goal line looks, or it's going to give Joe Mixon goal line looks. And the Jaguars are the middle of the road against RBs, and the Bengals are 3-point favorites implied for 26 points at home. I can't see a scenario happening where 0.5 PPR points doesn't give you at least 10 to 15 points this week. Now, flex start, I love that. I just want to give you guys the confidence to play this guy. We picked up Darrell Henderson off waivers last week, and he logged the highest snap share of his season. He went from 34.8% snap share when he had a fine week, which was week 2. Week 3 comes out with a 51.6% snap share against the Bills. He had 20-plus touches and just fucking went crazy on the Bills. This is a team that runs the ball. They have the highest run-to-pass ratio right now. And I think he's going to be a back-end RB2 this week as 13.5 favorites at home against the Giants. They're going to shit on this team. The Giants are a shit show. Both the teams in New York are a shit show. Right now it's Friday, 2:43 p.m. and Adam Gase is still the Jets head coach, but we'll just fucking gloss over that. That's for another video. But Darrell Henderson, I'm telling you, he's a good flex play this week, and don't be scared to start him after picking him off waivers. First sit this week for running backs is going to be Antonio Gibson at home against Baltimore, and I think Antonio Gibson right now, I love him as a player. I love his upside. I've made videos on him in the past, but his production right now I think is really fluky. When you look at it, he has 2 straight weeks of just squeaking in touchdowns and make him look like a back-end RB2. But in reality, he only had a 39% snap share last week. So we went from 71.4% snap share to 39% snap share. And these are even in bad game scripts where Antonio Gibson is a receiving back, but he's just not getting the volume yet. And the Ravens are top 5 against fantasy running backs. And Washington, they're 14-point underdogs. Antonio Gibson, to me, is he's like a back-end RB3. I'd be looking to flex somebody else instead of him. And another guy that I don't like is Joshua Kelley this week. Now, I've been gassing this man up on waiver videos. I even had him as a start last week, and he didn't do too well. For whatever reason, that Carolina game just didn't pan out the way that people in Vegas thought it would. But this week against Tampa Bay is a tough matchup. For whatever reason, Tampa Bay, I can't name you a single person on the defensive line besides Shaq Barrett and Jason Pierre-Paul, who are both pass rushers, but they're insane against the run. They're top 5 in rushing DVOA again this year, and they're 7-point underdogs. This is going to be a game where the Chargers are going to play from behind, and this is an Eckler game. I didn't have Eckler in my starts because he's pretty much a set and forget type guy right now, but for those of you that have Austin Eckler, start him. He's an RB1 this week. For my starts and studs with wide receivers, first up we got Steffon Diggs. He's going to be in Las Vegas, and I love this matchup this week. That's why I had Devin Singletary before. And if you have Josh Allen, obviously you're starting him. If you have Steffon Diggs, you're starting him. I think John Brown is a little sneaky in this matchup, but for me, Steffon Diggs is my start of the week. He had a relatively quiet week last week. I know that he was startable, but he had 4 catches for 49 yards and a touchdown. Like, he was playing against fucking Jalen Ramsey. That's like a top 5, top 10 corner in the league. Now he's going against Las Vegas Raiders. And to me, I think Damon Arnett, the rookie they just got, is trash. I can't name the other corners on that team. Their corners are suspect, and I know that their fantasy points against at the wide receiver position is actually pretty impressive for the corners they have out there. But I just think that this is going to be a shootout type game in Las Vegas. I think it's just going to be another one of these Bills shootouts. It's just going to be Diggs. I think Diggs is going to blaze the secondary. I think the Bills are going to score a lot of points. Now, after Diggs, we have Keenan Allen at home versus Tampa Bay. And Keenan Allen looks like a fucking stud this year. He just got 19 fucking targets last week. He's number 1 in targets in the NFL. And there's a clear kind of like chemistry, kind of like a little winky, you know, him and Justin Herbert are tight, bro. That's all there is to it. And this Tampa Bay run defense is stout, as I told you before. They do not let people run between the tackles. Eckler is not a between the tackles guy, and Joshua Kelley's going to struggle this week, so it's going to funnel targets outside. And it seems like Herbert really likes Keenan Allen in the slot. Keenan Allen, we know he's a great route runner. At 6-point underdog's going to be throwing the ball plenty of times, and Keenan Allen's probably going to have another 8 to 10 target game. I love him as like a high-end wide receiver 2 this week. And as we move on, I usually give 3 starts and 1 flex start, but I'm going to give you 2 flex starts because I know a lot of people are hurting at wide receiver right now. We got Michael Thomas, Devontae Adams. We got Ruggs and Bryan Edwards hurt. We got the Steelers-Titans game postponed. So I'm just going to give you guys 2 flex starts because a lot of us are going to be flexing these wide receivers that you can find on the bottom of your bench or on waivers. And the first one that's going to be somebody that's on your bench that you're not sure if you can start. I'm going to give you the vote of confidence on Ceedee Lamb. Jesus. Ceedee Lamb is the real fucking deal, man. In Dynasty, if you have Ceedee Lamb, just sit back and enjoy the fact that you have a top 5 wide receiver during the next 3 years. And the reason why he's so great for fantasy is all these slot snaps that Kellen Moore is giving him. He's lined up in the slot on 153 snaps, which is the most in the league. And this is a game in Cleveland where I think that Denzel Ward and the outside corners, Greedy Williams, nothing special, but we've seen Michael Gallup not be consistent every game. I think it's going to funnel the targets to the inside, and they're going to start picking apart the linebackers and the safeties on that defense. And I see Ceedee Lamb eating up this week. And this is tied for the highest over-under this week with 56, and that's tied with the Green Bay-Atlanta game. And the Cowboys are number 1 in pace of play. They're going to score a lot of points. They're going to get a lot of plays in, and they're going to funnel a lot of targets to the slot. I think Ceedee Lamb is going to have a lot of catches this game, and I like him as a fringe wide receiver 2 this week with big upside in a game with a lot of points scored. Now, my favorite fucking play this week, Hunter Renfrow, the guy who looks like he doesn't play football, the guy obsessed with grapes from Clemson, natty champion, and with Ruggs and Edwards out, with all this shit going on with the Steelers, Titans, we got Godwin out. Hunter Renfrow is the perfect guy. I think that he's available across a lot of leagues. I think that maybe his ownership's only around 20%, but you can fact check me on that. I'm not going to check Hunter Renfrow's ownership, but I'm telling you, check your waivers. I guarantee he's out there because he's a top 30 option for me, and you have to scoop him up and plug him in your flex if you're struggling with injuries this week. As I said, Ruggs and Edwards are both going to be out or doubtful in game time. As I said, it's Friday right now. We'll know more information on Sunday, but if those two guys are out, I love Renfrow. He's the next man up after Waller. And the Bills are bottom 10 in fantasy points allowed to wide receivers, and the Raiders are implied 24.5 points. I love Renfrow to go off for like 7 catches for 65 and a touchdown. I think that he's a great option, and the flex is going to get plenty of targets this week. Fire up the boy Hunter Renfrow. I think he's a free square wide receiver this week. Now, my sits for this week, we have T.Y. Hilton at Chicago. T.Y. Hilton, he's the wide receiver 71 this year in 0.5 PPR points. I think that he's fucking dust. It's over for him. I know a lot of you guys drafted him where you need to start him as a wide receiver too. I'm telling you, try and grab Renfrow off waivers. Try and grab Shenault off waivers. These are all great alternatives. T.Y. Hilton, he's just not a guy I'm starting. Chicago's a really tough matchup. And the Colts, even though they're thin at receiver with Paris Campbell and Michael Pittman out, they haven't been relying on T.Y. Hilton. I think it's tough to say, but I just don't think that he's going to be startable going forward. So leave him on your bench. And another guy I'm leaving on my bench, if I can, is Jarvis Landry at Dallas. I know the reason why I put this here is because I think that this is a trap. Jarvis Landry, I know it's a high over-under game. I know Jarvis Landry feels like a strong play here, but I don't think so. He's only 50th in target share with 16.7% of his team targets, and they're bottom 2 in pass-to-run ratio. So they're not passing the ball a ton. They're running it a lot with Chubb and Kareem Hunt. A lot of those targets are going to Kareem Hunt. And I think the only startable receiver in that offense is OBJ. And I'll talk about Austin Hooper later. I think he's a fine stream. But Jarvis Landry, he's not a guy that I'm trying to target here. I think he's a low-end flex play at best. And another guy that I don't even want to flex is DJ Chark. He's at Cincinnati. And I'm not confident until he shows us he's not banged up. Even through those first 2 games, he looked banged up. He wasn't leading his team in targets. And now he comes out, and then he's getting rushed back after a week into the lineup. Cincinnati, they allow the 3rd least amount of fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. It's just a terrible matchup. I think he's going to be kind of a decoy this game. And I think this is going to be a game where Shenault and Keelan Cole are more involved than DJ Chark. I think he's like outside my top 40 receivers. All right, now it's time to put the fucking floaties on, boys. We're living the stream. These are going to be players that are under 50% owned that are like a quarterback and tight ends. I know a lot of us picked our quarterbacks and tight ends late, and we gotta kind of rotate them out every week. Now, first up, we have Jared Goff at home against the Giants. I have no clue how he's only 48% owned on ESPN, but that's just what it is right now. Everyone's disrespecting Jared Goff. He's the QB9 right now, and what's crazy is the efficiency at which he's doing that. If he's the QB9 with the Rams, who are only passing the ball in 45.85% of plays, which is the league low, he's providing a great efficiency, and they're implied 30 points as like 14-point favorites at home against the Giants. He's going to probably have a couple touchdowns, probably 200-plus yards. I think this is a great game for Jared Goff to give you a startable week. And then after that, if you want to get a little more risky for that high upside play or Jared Goff is taken, it's time for Fitzmagic, baby. I'm telling you, they're 6-point underdogs, and this game is scheduled for 54 points on the over-under. They're going to be at home against Seattle, and Russell Wilson's going to light their defense up. And Fitzpatrick, he's going to be playing from behind. He's going to be slinging the fucking rocket. Devontae Parker and Mike Gesicki, who are both great plays in their own right. And Seattle's giving up the most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. It's not going to be pretty with Ryan Fitzpatrick. He could get benched. That's always the main concern, is he could get benched for 2 of one of these games. But I think that he's going to hang in there. I think he's going to make this competitive. And I think that he has top 10 quarterback upside. And I think he's like a top 15, top 18 play this week. And with that, I'm going to give you guys a couple of honorable mentions. I'm not going to go into detail with them, but I like Gardner Minshew at home against Cincinnati, and I like Baker Mayfield in Dallas if those 2 options aren't available on waivers. And as we move forward, we're going to the tight ends. And the first tight end I have this week is Austin Hooper, who's only 42.6% owned. And it's been a quiet year for him, but Dallas has given up the 9th most points to tight ends. And I think that this high over-under, just kind of flip your coin with Austin Hooper. He hasn't scored a touchdown yet. I think that this is going to be the week where he sneaks in a touchdown, maybe gets like 3-4 catches for 40 yards and a touchdown. I think that's reasonable for Austin Hooper. It's getting rough on these waivers for tight ends. And then as we go past that, I like Jimmy Graham. Jimmy Graham is the tight end 6 on the season this year, which is crazy. You think that it's fucking 2012. He's on the Bears. For whatever reason, he's getting a crazy amount of red zone targets as that 6'6" target. He's first in red zone targets among tight ends. And the Colts are the best team against tight ends in fantasy points allowed, but I think that this is a game where Jimmy Graham can overcome that. And he's probably going to score a touchdown. If not score a touchdown, I like him for 30 to 50 yards. So I think he's a startable tight end. And then as you move past that, if you have to, I like Dalton Schultz and Logan Thomas this week. If you made it this far, man, I appreciate it. Make sure you go down below and subscribe. And while you're down there, if I don't go over any of the start sits on your team and I didn't mention those players, just go down below and ask me that question. I usually respond within an hour. I'll make sure I'll answer everybody's questions before the Sunday night or before the Sunday 1 p.m. kickoff. And as always, man, I'll see you in the next one.